Salut les amis, this is Shannon. I'm back with another video for you guys. I hope you guys are really excited because I know I am. Alright, so we're gonna review a bit because we're learning something new today, but in order to learn this new thing, we need to make sure we have our bases covered with that old thing we learned, which is les pronoms sujets. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but these were the words that kind of start our sentence. It's, it's like the subject of the sentence. We call them the doers because these are the things that are followed by verbs normally. So we have je, which is I, tu, which is you, informal, one person that you're talking to, il, elle, elle, on, which are our different variations of the third person, and you can see right here which one is which. We have the plural, nous, which is we. We have the plural, vous, which is you, but multiple people, or formal if you're talking to someone that is, like a teacher, a boss, or something. And we have il, elle, elle, which are our forms for the third person plural. All right, so that's our little review here. So if I were to say I go, I'm saying je vais. That's how we use it in a sentence. So we're gonna take it on over to this side of the board where I'm gonna show you all the new stuff that you're gonna learn, all right? So we got a lot of stuff going on here, but now we're gonna just focus on this little thing here. And these are called les pronoms toniques. So in English, I think they're called the disjunctive pronouns, but we're gonna refer to them as les pronoms toniques, or the followers, because these are the things that are used after a preposition, which we'll get to in a minute because that's really confusing. Or they can be used in the beginning of a sentence for emphasis. So I'll get to how they're used in a minute, but let's go over what each one is. So we have our singular, which is just like one person. So we have our first person singular, which is moi. If I'm talking about myself, I'm gonna use moi. Second person singular, which is toi. So if I'm talking to you specifically and you're like my friend, not a boss, not anything, just one person, and you're like someone I know, I'm gonna use toi. I'm addressing you, or I'm talking about you basically. Our singular third person, so we have a bunch of different options here. We got lui, which is our masculine singular third person, which would translate to him. We have elle, which would translate to her. And we have elle, lui, which is non-binary, third person singular, which translates to them. And then we have over on this side, this lovely side right here, we have our plurals. So when we're talking about multiple people, we have our first person plural, nous, which would refer to us. Our plural second person, which would be vous, which is you, but multiple people. Or if you're a teacher or a boss or someone that I would use a formal register with. And we have third person plural. Down here we have all these lovely options. So we have when you're talking about them, but multiple people, and if it's a group of guys or a group with guys in it. Elle, which is if there's a group of girls. And we have elle, which is our non-binary pronom tonique, which is for a group of people who identify as non-binary. All right, so now that we have all these covered, let's go over the usage of these. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this bubble for a second. So the first point I have here is usually comes after a preposition. What is a preposition? I'm glad you asked. This person down here is also wondering, c'est quoi une préposition? So, in English, the equivalent would kind of be like of, from, with, without, which I have some examples right here. So basically what prepositions do is kind of link the sentence together to give it more detail. So here's some examples. Some of the most common prepositions that you see in French is like de, which would mean from or of, depending on how you're using it. You have à, which is to or at, avec, which is with, or sans, which is without. And there's a lot more, but these are like the most common ones that you guys are gonna see. So let me give you guys an example. So if I wanna say, I'm going with you, I'll start with, my subject pronoun for I, which is je. So je vais, which would be I am going, and I want to say with, so I'm going to say je vais avec, and then I want to say you. So I'm talking to you as a friend, like one person, so I'm going to use toi. Je vais avec toi. So that's where this comes from, because you don't want to say je vais avec tu. Tu is like the pronom sujet, the subject pronoun that we learned that starts the sentence. Those are the doers. We don't want to use that when you're talking about with you, because you is not the person that's going. I'm the person that's going, but you add detail to the sentence because I'm going with you, if that makes any sense. So we have our first example here. So this is an example that I did not mention earlier, but it was written up. So if you were paying attention and reading ahead, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So these words over here, the pronom tonique that we just learned, can also be used in the beginning of a sentence if you want to use it for emphasis. So if you're trying to say me, like for example, I like Mexican cuisine, you would say moi, j'aime, so me, I like la cuisine mexicaine. So basically what you're doing is you're emphasizing the fact that it's me who likes Mexican cuisine. So if we're talking about them, we're gonna say elle, lui, elle aime la cuisine indienne. So that's kind of introducing a contradiction because they're saying that they like Indian food while me, I like Mexican food. So this is to emphasize, like the elle, lui, the pronom tonique is to emphasize that it's elle who likes Indian food, as opposed to me, who likes moi, j'aime la cuisine mexicaine. Okay? And now we have our second example over here. So this is going to be one of the examples that I was talking about with preposition. So we have vous, which is you guys or you all, or a person that I'm talking to formally. Vous allez, so you all are going. Avec, if you remember, that means with. So in this sentence is them. So vous allez avec eux, you are going with them. You don't want to say vous allez avec il with an S, because that would be you are going with they. You don't want that. So vous allez avec eux. Eux here is our pronom tonique. And then here's another example of emphasis. Mais moi, but me, je vais, I am going, avec elle. So if you've noticed, elle has the same form in the pronom tonique form and the pronom sujet. So, if you're talking about her, she, it's kind of easy. They're the same. Also, it is the same for nous and vous too. Nous, vous, and elle make it easy. Everyone else, you gotta say something different. So, moi, je vais avec elle, but me, I'm going with her. Okay? And then for our third example right here, you can also use les pronoms toniques when you're like responding to a question. It's like, who's doing this? You can simply just say me or you or whatever. So in this example, we were asking qui, which is who. Qui est de Chicago? And if you remember, de is from or of, but in this case it means from. So who is from Chicago? If you want to say I'm from Chicago, I'm going to say moi. So you don't want to say je because that means I. And that kind of sounds awkward. Who's from Chicago? I. It doesn't really translate well. So, moi. We're gonna respond with our pronom tonique. Moi. All right. So that's all we have for today. We have les pronoms toniques. I hope you enjoyed this video. J'espère que vous avez aimé cette vidéo. So, à bientôt, mes amis.